Welcome to Barney Zeitz's studio on Martha's Vineyard. I'm going to show you on the walk into the glass studio some of the sculptures I welded out of stainless steel. All directly welded. This one's going to Wisconsin next month. Birdman. And this is the big studio wall I built 10 years ago. And it's where I'm showing the windows going to Flieden, Germany. And here we can see two of the finished back four windows for the church former synagogue in Flieden. This is the middle Hebrew window, and we have the back German window. They're all finished. And in the crate I have the other two large windows, but I only welded two frames, but you can see the techniques. This Hebrew is done with metal oxides as an underpainting and an overglaze. And I wanted to do that in blue. And then the church had requested magenta for the color for the German, because their brochure and their German Protestant church colors are magenta. This was their brochure for the project. So what I did was I found a full thickness of magenta glass and cut it on a special saw. And so each piece is cut and then laminated down onto the plate and then fired with other glass packed in between the lettering, so you can see it just flows. And I do a technique that I've come up with over the years where I use metal oxide underpaintings and then stained glass layers on top, and then some top fire paints as well, so that you can see there's like a black line on the top. There's some opaque whites, which you can sort of make out. If I hold that, that's on the top surface. And you know, it's a unique look. It's very painterly, but it is all glass and metal oxides. And this is, like I said, the back German window. 1951 was the year that the church opened. And inside in my studio, I'll show you the back Hebrew window on the light table, which says 1875. Now this frame here will be going to Germany. It's stainless steel, and I welded it. It took over a month to weld. There's the Hebrew is the last word for the prayer for peace, shalom, and in German it'll be Frieden. And this was all curve cuts to make the curves, and bent and welded so that the red glass will fit in here, but only the words, the letters for shalom, will be seen from the front. And this is a very special frame, all stainless steel. The church is having built the exact sizes in zinc frames to take thermal pane glass on the outside and a space for my stained glass on the inside. So today's a good day. The wind's blowing and the lights flickering through the windows. So let me take you inside and show you the light table where I do the glass work. And for any given color, I have crushed glass. Here's 1875. And you can see for each color, I've crushed and screened to get different grades, different sizes, right down to powders. You know, here's a sea blue, lavender, light blue. Over here, so my studio is a big mess with lots of different trays of glass ready to be used in windows. And you can see the technique for the metal oxide underpainting. Now the light table flattens everything out. So, you know, these words are 1875 when this particular building was built. even though there had been a Jewish presence in Flieden for, they say, up to almost 500 years. So, and what I did was I started with glass that was just plain colors like you see here, and I would crush it and I would mix it on heavy hard shelves, which I have over here in this kiln. I'd have the 2 hard shelves in there, and I would mix it together and fuse pieces that look like this. And then with those pieces, I would hit them with a hammer and break them up into mosaic pieces that look like, and I'd have them in trays, and I can work with these pieces. There we go. To do the mosaic mountaintop. And here's a good study to show when I first presented the idea. You know, I did 3 studies like this, and this is using that mosaic glass that I crushed and fused and then, hammered again to break it up a second time, and then used as an abstract mountaintop with the slivers of the reds and oranges and magenta throughout the sky. And this is all one piece of glass. In the last window, I'm going to be, let's go back outside. We're going to transition from a one technique where everything is done in fused glass. So you can see these windows are very soft in texture. But for the last window, it's a prayer for peace in both Hebrew and in German. And it reads, "May God bless you and keep you. May God make his face shed light upon you and be gracious unto you. May God lift up his face unto you and give you peace." So we're going to finish the back window on each side with the word peace, but that's going to be done in a different technique. I'll be using the same glass, but I'm going to laminate with a special epoxy so that each piece is glued down separately, and it will have a much higher quality of see-throughness. So if you look at these greens, let me hold this up to the right light, and you move around, you can see that it's much more optically pure, and the front surface you can see is not quite flat. So what happens is when I laminate the same fused glass onto plate glass, you end up with a more optically pure lens-like quality. And that's what I'm looking for in the third window. So on either side of the church, let me take a look at this. I have these pictures. Here's the church. 3 windows on each side. You have the 2 big ones. And then 10 feet down the church, 3 meters, you have the smaller window where you step 2 steps up and the walls come in 2 feet on each side. So it's a more intimate space, and that's where the word shalom will be. So you will literally read the prayer across the church on the right in Hebrew and on the left in German with crosses. So you have Hebrew with Stars of David, which you have here, and then in German with crosses on the left side of the church. So it's our shared prayer for peace, which has been used for thousands of years by both Christians and Jews. Matter of fact, Holger uses this sometimes to finish a service, and I grew up in a temple where they finished the service with a priestly prayer. So it should be very moving to share this prayer in a building that had once been for Jewish people, and now it's Christian people. Back in my welding studio, even though I have the windows here, this is my welding area. The glass is done inside, and I didn't show you before, but this is my big mess where things come out like sculptures. Yes, we have a lot of material around here. I do my cutting out there, welding here, so when I grind it goes out the smell. And in this room I can weld a larger frame. This is, believe it or not, the drawing for the Shalom window. You can make out the Shalom And with all the metal work and fire and trying to weld the frame, it just burnt it all. It was just really very fitting for the subject. It's quite beautiful, actually. So anyway, this is my studio where I do the welding. Some welding I do in both studios. There's the big welder. I got a big TIG welder over here. Plasma cutter. Drill press. Compressed air. Yeah, this is, I spent a lot of time in this room. One could get depressed being in this room, but I love what I do. Here's my bandsaw. And then from here, you can see the windows. There's 3 of them right there. The frame for the Shalom window along with the 2 finished windows, 9 feet tall each. And I have Wagner on as theme music. Anyway, 4 windows are finished. The 5th window is frame is made, and we've gotten grants from the German bank Sparkasse Fulda, who is going to finish the 5th window, and then the European Union Regional Forum, the LEADER program, is paying for the 6th window. So over the next 9 months, I'm hoping to finish all 6 windows and get them to Germany as they finish rebuilding the roof of their church. And it will all come together next spring, maybe summer. So it's very moving. It's been a process for 4 years where we helped to raise the funds on both sides of the Atlantic. And it's been very meaningful for me and my friend from Cambridge who first met Pastor Bean at the church maybe 5 years ago now, 4 years ago. And it's been quite a project. I went to Germany 3.25 years ago, and then the committee chairman, let's see if you can see this picture, Thomas Bender. There's Marie Ariel, and there I am. He came to visit us just about 2 years ago when the first window was finished, and the German window was down to about halfway, and then he and I discussed the magenta and worked out, well, I didn't work it out until he left, but we had tried some metal oxides and it didn't work to make that red, and it wasn't brilliant enough, so I experimented with the full thickness of magenta glass, and it worked beautifully. So anyway, it's always learning to be done as an artist when you're trying new things. See you next year.